Hello, this is Leading the Way at Leonards Express, and I'm your host, Dwayne Knepper. Today, we're talking about mental health awareness. Leonards Express recently worked with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, known as NAMI, to raise awareness about this important aspect of health and well being with our employees, especially our drivers. NAMI Chief Operating Officer Kristina Mossgraber joins us today to talk about mental awareness. And as always, joining the discussion and riding shotgun is Leonards Express CEO Ken Johnson. Thank you both for joining today's podcast.
Thanks so much for having us, Dwayne.
Thanks, Dwayne. Good to be back again.
Kristina, what is your mission at the National Alliance on Mental Illness?
So at NAMI, our main mission is support, education, and advocacy for people who live with mental health conditions, their family, their friends, the community as a whole. So that's a mission statement, but what does that look like? So that looks like out in the community, having events where we hand out information about other resources. A lot of what we do is connect people to other resources, things they may be struggling with. We have events like our walk that we had last weekend. We had at least 900 people, I'd say, here at Village Gate in the courtyard. And thank you, Leonards Express, for bringing the truck up. That was super cool to have you guys and your support. We go into workplaces. I know we'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing with Leonards Express, but we go in and talk about mental health and suicide prevention. We have lots of support groups and classes and all different kinds of ways for people to learn about mental health, to find support for themselves, to find support for a loved one. Everything we offer the community is at no cost. And one of the really special things about NAMI Rochester is that everyone has lived experience. So everyone who leads a group or teaches a class not only has training in their particular subject area, but also has been there. So has a loved one with a mental illness, may live with a mental illness themselves. So there's that special bond of lived experience when someone shares something so personal, and the person who's leading the group can say, wow, I've been there too. I'm gonna walk with you on this journey. So just something that makes all this work we do so special.
Wow. Yeah, Kristina, your mental health story is your superpower. Can you share your story and how it led you to get involved with this important work?
Yeah, Dwayne, wow, thank you. Such an important question, and so important that we honor people's stories. And here we say at NAMI, your story is your superpower. And 8 years ago, when I was struggling, if you had told me that what I went through would become my superpower, I would have been like, no way. But it did 8 years ago, and it was started in the summer. So this is kind of a special, bittersweet time in a lot of wonderful ways for me. But I started to struggle with my mental health, not knowing what it was, having these feelings and these thoughts and, engaging in these behaviors that I didn't know what they were, didn't realize they were signs of a mental health struggle. And I was scared and I was ashamed, and subsequently ended up on leave from my job and being hospitalized and almost losing my life because of my untreated bipolar disorder, which is what I live with. And that's a really important message for me to get out there is language. People live with mental health conditions. We're not our illness. We're not our disorder. I'm not bipolar disorder. I'm Kristina Mossgraber. I live with bipolar disorder. I also live with a heart condition. I have an arrhythmia too. So I always tell people my heart's a pretty important organ. My brain's a pretty important organ. So I take my medication for both of those things and make sure to keep them going. So, I don't find myself in the hospital for either one of them, but that's really what brought me to this work, Dwayne. I mean, I have family experience as well as a caregiver, but really having experiences along the way where I can say, you know what, if I knew what I know now, I could have done better then. Can't live in the past, right? You got to move forward. But I like to take those experiences and say, okay, I'm going to learn more and I'm going to share more and I'm going to strive to do better for the people that come after me.
Well, thank you, Kristina. Ken, Leonards Express is working with NAMI to educate employees about mental health. Can you describe the program?
Sure, Dwayne. We partnered with NAMI to first have an educational program for our employees. And Kristina and Samantha from NAMI, put that on a couple weeks ago. It was wonderful. I sat through it and I learned a lot. I hope everyone else did. I assume they did. It was very well put together. And the shared stories as well as some of the resources they offered. Our next step, we've got some folks that are about to start a program that's called Working Minds, which I'm I'm going to ask Kristina to kind of explain what that is for us. But we feel that offering this type of help for our employees is important. A well-balanced workforce, is a successful workforce, and this is just one step in the process, in helping our employees. And we have a lot of employees that are isolated. They work alone. They don't have the peer-to-peer contact and conversations that some of the rest of us have. And making sure that they have the tools and are aware of the tools, is important to us. So we're proud of what we're doing, and we think it's an important part of what we offer our employees.
Christina,
wow, Ken, just listening to you talk, Ken, it's just so inspiring because talking about mental health in the workplace so openly is still a pretty new concept. And I'm always so grateful for people who are, leading the way and being those innovators of how we talk about this in the workplace, because we spend so much of our time at work. So important that we know we can find support there. So the other program that Ken was talking about is a program they actually it was called Working Minds, and they just changed it. I believe it's something to do with a cog, but still the same program. So what it is it's a deeper dive into mental health and suicide prevention specifically within the workplace. So the program that we did for everyone, which it was awesome to see so many people on the screen. I think we had definitely over 80 people that showed up for our session a couple weeks ago. So that was kind of a higher level overview of warning signs, symptoms, what to look for, how to have the conversation. And then this is a longer program with much more specific information and kind of more specific roadmaps of what to do to help somebody. But always important to start with that basic understanding, and then we can build on that. So we've got lots of programs and opportunities that we can continue to do together.
I saw what you did there, Kristina. You put in the companies that are leading the way, which is the name of this podcast.
I didn't even mean to.
Oh, great.
I love it.
Kristina, you shared a presentation with Leonard's Express employees called "This is what mental health awareness looks like." For our listeners, what is mental health and what is it not?
Well, mental health is something we all have. Mental meaning have to do with the brain. Mental health it's our moods and how we feel and how we react and how we behave. Many different things come into our mental health, things that are happening around us, whether that is within our small network, within the world, within our workplace. The way that we feel physically can affect our mental health. So there's lots of different factors that make up our mental health, and we need to take care of it just like we take care of our physical health. We always encourage people, you go to your doctor to get, a physical, and you go, get other things checked out. We always encourage a checkup from the neck up. So checking in with yourself. How is your mental health? What do you need? What can you change in your world that can improve your mental health? And Dwayne, just to jump into just one other thing that we covered in our presentation, just want to quickly share what the difference between mental health and mental illness is. Mental health is something, again, we all have. Mental illness is something different. That is, they're diagnosed medical illnesses that are very treatable. They're very common, and you can live your best life. I mentioned earlier, I live with bipolar disorder. I'm the happiest and best I've ever been because I got help, I got treatment, and I've been able to maintain and manage and find purpose. So just a quick delineation, because a lot of times those lines get blurred between mental health and mental illness. And just to share with our listeners that, mental health is part of mental illness, but we all have mental health. We all have to take care of it and attend to it.
Absolutely. I think, Ken, you mentioned it before, for our drivers who are alone in an enclosed space for hours on end, trucking can be an isolating profession. Drivers see a lot of things on the road. In some incidents, they can be very traumatizing. Stress from traffic or delivery pressure all can contribute to mental health disorders that can cause anxiety, depression, loneliness. This can lead to not eating properly, not getting sleep, an unhealthy lifestyle, drowsiness, unmanaged stress. It can turn into a road safety issue.
Sure.
Ken, what are some of the resources Leonard's is providing to help drivers and employees address mental health challenges?
First off, Dwayne, communication, like anything else, is at the part of this. We call our dispatchers driver advocates, and there's a reason for that. They're advocates on several levels, and including just talking to them from time to time, just to engage in a conversation, and just try to pick up if there's anything going on that maybe we can point them in the direction that gets them the help they need. Some of the other things, try to eliminate some of the isolations with the ride-along programs where they can take, a spouse or, a relative along for the ride, or our pet program. Some folks like to travel with a pet for support. Speaking of that, we just started putting in a dog park here in Farmington. Boise always had one. It wasn't fenced, but there was an area. But ours will be fenced with a dog area where they can go off leash and while they're waiting for their loader to get their truck fixed, spend a little time with their pets outside. So we're excited about that. And we look at the home time, making sure that the home time is adequate. Our drivers are away from home. It's part of the job for some of our drivers. So we're making sure that we balance that with adequate home time. And I think another important thing is educating and counseling services that we make available, and make sure they know about them. It's one thing to have them. It's another thing to make sure that it's communicated so that, they realize they're available. Carrier's Edge, we have an EAP program. And of course, NAMI is another resource, that is available to us.
Yeah. I remember as a kid seeing someone talking to themselves. I can't remember exactly where I was at, but they were talking to themselves. And I remember someone telling me, leave them alone. They're working it out. It's cheaper that way. Mental health is part of a national dialogue now. Organizations like NAMI are helping to remove that stigma around mental health so no one has to suffer in silence. Kristina, what are some of the most common warning signs that go unnoticed?
Oh, Dwayne, that's such a big question because I'm thinking about how you said unnoticed, and I think that there's a lot of warning signs and symptoms that people may see or may feel, but really touching on that unnoticed. I always tell people if something seems off about someone you love or someone you care about, trust your gut. Thinking about a lot of times things go unnoticed because people don't know what they are, but sometimes they do get noticed and not talked about. So thank you so much for, bringing up that point of them being unnoticed, because like that person you mentioned, talking to themselves, that's a visible thing. You can see that somebody may be struggling, but a lot of them you might not see as obviously or know what they are. So some very common signs that you may see in yourself or your loved one is not sleeping enough or sleeping too much. When I was not well, I was up for days and days, which is one of the first warning signs that someone is struggling. And I know, for the people on the road that, your schedules are different, but again, check up from the neck up. So checking with yourself, is this unusual for me? Or is this unusual for my loved one? Is it causing me distress? Is it causing possible safety concerns like you talked about? So just, checking in, does it feel, abnormal for the person, whether again, it's yourself or a loved one? Same changes in appearance. If someone, is used to always, getting dressed up and looking good and doing their thing, and all of a sudden are just not taking pride in their appearance. Again, something with me that people noticed and nobody said anything. People talked around me. My appearance started to change at work. I had a, awesome job and dressed up all the time. And all of a sudden I just wasn't. People, they noticed it, but they didn't say anything because they didn't know it was a sign that I might be struggling. So again, so important that we talk about what to look for and then what to do. Again, changes in eating habits, overuse of substances. And again, very important to keep in mind that overuse, because we're all adults, we all, engage in different things, but it's when it's dangerous, when it's unhealthy, when it's, people talk about, self-medicating and using as a coping mechanism. When it's to that level, that's when we're very concerned about it as a sign that someone is not doing well. Symptoms are something a little different, where those are the things that you might feel. So those are things you might not see when you have a racing heart, for example. Can't catch your breath, might feel tight in your chest, like feeling that anxiety. Those are things that you can share with someone and talk about. Well, I'm feeling this overwhelming, tightness in my chest, or my racing heart, or even my thoughts. When I was not well, that was one thing that was a sign for me. Now, I know that I was struggling. Now I know in retrospect, but my mind just would race and race and race. I couldn't get my thoughts to stop. So just some of the most common ones, Dwayne. Again, thinking about the going unnoticed, so important that we know what we're looking at, we know what we're looking for, and then saying something, and reaching out to the person, or reaching into someone.
Ken, you want to add some closing remarks there?
Sure. First off, Christina, I appreciate you coming on and discussing this with us today. You certainly have provided us, with some great information. And, as I said earlier, it's important that our employees know what's available to them. And, this is, another step along the way of making that information. So thanks for your time here today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And Dwayne, what a great host. So appreciate you. And if I could just closing message for, before I take off and leave you guys, but just know that, help is available. Hold on to that hope, please hold on to that hope until you get that help. NAMI, we're always available, Ken. I know you guys have shared out the resources, and we'll continue to share our resources. And there is no shame in getting help. Getting help is the strongest thing you can do. So please, if you're struggling or someone you love is struggling, please, 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 reach out to me. I will have a cup of coffee with you and we can talk it out. Anything we can do to support you guys, but just know that getting help is not weak, and it's not anything to be ashamed of. It is strong and brave, and I'm so proud of everything you guys are doing at Leonards Express, and can't wait to continue our conversations.
Thank you.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, we want to use it as a reminder to take care of yourself in this podcast episode. So we've been talking today with Kristina Mossgraber, Chief Operating Officer of National Alliance on Mental Illness. Thanks again, Kristina, for sharing with us and being with us today.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
And now let's shift gears and talk a few minutes about the latest trucking industry news. Ken, what are some of the top stories on your radar this week?
Sure. Thanks, Dwayne. And, first, we're going to talk about a bill that's out of California, which we're based in New York. We do operate in California. We operate in all 48 states. This bill is a bill that passed a couple years ago. It is a misclassification bill for independent contractors. It's referred to as AB5. And in the next week or two, we should learn whether the Supreme Court will take up the industry's appeal of the decision from the Ninth Circuit Court. The Ninth Circuit Court ruled that the bill was legal and did not violate the federal standards that the trucking industry was challenging on. This is an appeal that overturns the first appeal at the local level in California. And why is this important to us? This bill was written, it covers everything from plumbers to the gig workers, Uber, Lyft drivers. The idea behind this bill is to make sure that nobody's working as an independent contractor that should be classified as an employee. The reason that that's important is because the states and the federal government want to make sure that the benefits that should be afforded an individual are applied appropriately, that the taxes are being paid on an individual's wages as they should be, and that any benefits that would ordinarily be offered an employee are available to these individuals if they are appropriately classified. The industry feels that this bill goes too far. The use of owner-operators is a long-standing standard in our industry. We've been using them for years, and our lease-to-own program is another way for an individual who is a company driver that may want to work for themselves to get there by leasing a truck and becoming an independent contractor. My dad started KJ Transportation, his first company, as a one-truck owner-operator. Several large companies, the same thing. the bill applies a standard that's known as the ABC standard, which means you have to be able to meet all three of those standards. The ABC standard for us, the challenging thing is the B standard, which means that if we offer a service, freight delivered by employees, then we can't subcontract that same service to somebody else, which would be, what we would be doing with independent contractors. Same thing, if you're running a plumbing company, you don't have enough plumbers, you can't hire an independent plumber to do the work. They would have the same issue. But if you were a general contractor that employ and plumbers, you could. So it's problematic. If the Supreme Court agrees to hear it, hopefully they overturn it. If they don't, it's going to become the law of California. And why that's important to us here at Leonards and as the industry as a whole is there's a lot of states that are looking at this, as well as the Labor Department and in Washington. And if this bill is allowed to go forward as it's written, it's believed that many states will pick up the same standard and, for all intents and purposes, eliminate owner-operators' ability to operate in that state or possibly even, the country. So we're quite concerned about it, and we're following it as a company. And I know the industry is watching it very closely.
We'll definitely be keeping our eyes on where this goes. Ken, I just heard Leonards Express is being nominated as a best workplace for women in trucking.
That's right. That's right, Dwayne. And we are excited about that. We think that's a wonderful thing. Traditionally trucking has been a male-dominated industry, and over the last, I'd say, 20, 25 years, the industry as a whole, and us in particular, have really worked to make our industry more welcoming for everyone. It's including women, and we're proud to be nominated for this, and we're looking forward to going through the process. I believe that in the next week or so, everyone that's on our email list, plus it'll be on our social media channels and so on, we'll see a link where you can go and vote. And I think that's going to be a 2 or 3 week process, and we hope that everybody will take the time to do that. They say it's a fairly quick and simple process to vote. It doesn't take more than a few minutes, and and hopefully we're successful in winning that award.
See, we got to get them out to vote.
Yes, just like every election.
There you go. Well, that's all for this edition of Leading the Way at Leonards. If you have any questions or feedback, we would love to hear from you at leadingtheway@leonardsexpress.com. That's leadingtheway, all one word, at leonardsexpress.com. I'm your host, Dwayne Knepper. Until next time, keep on trucking.